Welcome back. We're reconvening in open session. First order of
when I looked around and heard all of the numbers there about it, and I thought about all of the millions, tens of millions of hours that group of emergency personnel that volunteered in this. So I just thought about all the tens of millions of hours, tens and tens of millions of hours that group of emergency service personnel volunteer all over the country, just saving our country billions and billions of dollars. And they were there, just a great passionate group of individuals to be around. Just a lot of good messages. Also, I'm really proud of our local.
Oh, that's the one. Okay, can you hear me now? Our local academy class, the Fire and Rescue Academy class from the technical high school, they were there and they set the whole facility up. So it was, pretty exciting to see them there, and just a wonderful job and a wonderful evening. And I just want to thank our emergency services team for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kiefer?
Yes, I have several things here. Can you hear me? My mic's working okay. I also had an opportunity to attend the Congressional Fire Service Institute banquet. This may have been my fourth time attending, and as Commissioner Baker said, our cadets from the Tech High School were in attendance, and of those more than 1,000 people in attendance, truly fire rescue personnel from across the country. I saw badges from New York City, Orange County, Anchorage, Alaska, all over the country. And it was good to see our county personnel and DES engaged with them and learning about things going on across the country. But for those cadets, in my experience, we are the only county or only jurisdictions that send our young students who are in training to become firefighters to that banquet. I may be mistaken, but those are the only ones that I saw over the years. And it's amazing the wealth of knowledge that they get to learn interacting with those fire chiefs from across the country. I also had an opportunity to attend the tribute dinner at Hagerstown Community College. This year, rather than honoring an individual or a couple, they were celebrating their 75th year as Hagerstown Community College, or prior to that, Hagerstown Junior College. I had an opportunity to connect with a former professor I had at HCC, Dr. Parsons, who taught sociology. And I guess I took one of the early distance learning classes, because I would come in and talk to him on a somewhat regular basis. As a group of students we did, but then we took home a big box of VHS cassettes. So that tells you that was maybe 15, 20 years ago, actually. And just imagine the technology that's changed in that time and how distance learning works. On that same note with distance learning, I guess kind of related, I've been asked by a few employees where we might be on our telework policy. Obviously distance learning isn't for everyone, and not every subject could be taught through distance learning effectively, but I know we have some places. I know that's continuing to go up. Maybe we can get an update from that here shortly if that's moving forward. And one final thing, a citizen had reached out to me a couple weeks ago, and I was reminded last week that I forgot to mention this. The Cascade property, that about 65 plus or minus acres that was given to a development company a couple years ago. That was a 4-1 vote, and it seems to be up for sale now. So maybe we could just check with any documents that we prepared at that time, just to ensure that the county isn't entitled to receive any remuneration from that. I know when the vote came up, I was the lone vote. I was criticized in the local newspaper for being the one lone vote on that, but just asking for, at that time, I asked that if that property not be developed in a certain time frame, it reverts back to the county, or maybe we start with a smaller parcel of land before giving away 10% of the property. But can we just ensure, for our citizens' sake, that there is no compensation due to the county if that property sale goes forward?
Sure. I think Yeah, I mean, sure, we can have staff take a look at that to make sure that there isn't anything in the documentation. I don't believe there is, but, if you could take a look.
Yeah, I'll be glad to take a look, but my recollection is that staff was instructed to convey the property without any conditions
But it doesn't
whatsoever.
hurt to
Well,
look.
and so we'll take a look at that and we'll let you know. We'll
Okay.
report back to the board.
Did they tell you the amount that it was on the market for?
I don't recall that, actually. Do you know?
No, I think it's a basic, a small amount. It's 10 lots. It's 10 or 12 lots, 1.4 million, and,
It's been subdivided.
yeah. And
Well,
it's,
1.4 million, not to get in an argument at all, but, you know, that's significant. That
yeah,
was
I know.
land that
It
we
was
gave
an
away.
asking price. Just
Yeah.
someone asked how much, and I knew. So, you know, that's just, I know it's not the whole partial.
Right, it's not.
All right, staff, check it out to make sure there's clarity. Thank you.
Do that.
Commissioner Kiefer, anything
That's
else?
all I have.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Burkett.
Good morning, everyone. Had a couple staff reach out and question of the increase in health retirement benefits, and just wanted to assure them that staff is looking into that issue, and hopefully we can get that taken care of within the next couple weeks. I also was able to attend the National Fire and Emergency Services Dinner with Commissioner Kiefer and Commissioner Baker, and it was a fantastic evening, and as always, gives us a chance to hear about issues. And it was kind of nice to hear that Washington County is not the only county across the nation that's dealing with some of these issues that we're dealing with, that it's across the country. And then I also attended the HCC event, really nice event put on by HCC, and they really, I think they were supposed to raise $7.5 million and raise $10 million, or so anyway. Very nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wagner.
Good morning. I was attended this morning at the Maryland Theater. They had a Child Abuse National Prevention Month was workshop headed up down there this morning. It started about 8 o'clock. We had a proclamation for them, and you know, and it's just amazing to see all the people there that are working on to eliminate or at least scale down child abuse. It's child abuse is a terrible thing. As I said this morning, as a father with 3 daughters and 7 grandchildren, I just can't imagine that problem's that big. So thanks to those people down at the theater this morning working on that and having an all-day workshop on that. And I did also attend HCC 75th anniversary, nice event, about 400 and some people. They did an amazing job. BJ Getz and Jim Holtzapple headed up the team that raised that a little over $10 million. You know, HCC is an amazing college, and you know, I'd hope the community would realize that and take, you know, I have 2 grandkids that go to HCC, and it's a very nice college. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I loved my time there.
Yeah,
You sure
Best
did?
college I ever went to.
yeah.
I too attended the HCC celebration, their 75th, $10 million. What a significant event. I also want to recognize, this is National Public Safety Telecommunications Week for our dispatchers, for those that are listening or on the job right now or later today. Heartfelt thank you from the commissioners for all the work that you do. Also want to announce that a local business called Scoopalicious, which I often patronize, is celebrating their 8th year in business. It's a mother-daughter operation. Very proud to have been able to support them. And I too attended the child abuse ceremony this morning, and we recognize April's Child Abuse Month. And then there was a small ceremony in Williamsport at Green Lawn Cemetery for World War II Navy veteran Delbert Tabler. Small event, family is, they asked if people from the community would stop by since most of his friends had passed. Again, we're losing our veterans from World War II and Korean War as each day goes by, and I was honored to be there to recognize and represent the commissioners. So that concludes my report. We'll now go to staff comments. Is our staff here today for comments? Okay, seeing none, we will now go to, we're a little early for, County Administrator.
Nothing this morning.
please do.
Thank you, President Klein. Good morning, Commissioners. Just a few things I wanted to mention today. The first thing I have is some recommendations for appointments to the Washington County Commissioner for Women. The Commission has recommended April Mowry, Dawn Nally, Mary Hendrickson, and Elise Weber to serve first 3-year terms from May 1st, 2022 through April 30th, 2025 on the Washington County Commission for Women. So,
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
okay. The other thing I wanted to, I think the Commissioners are aware of this, but just so everyone knows, we did a move over the weekend, our 80 West Baltimore Street operation, where they're going to build the new stadium. We worked right up till Friday afternoon, so you could get a permit Friday afternoon, and then they opened their doors yesterday morning. I almost hesitate to pick out people specifically because I'm going to forget somebody, but I'm going to a little bit. Todd Moser, Scott Hobbs, Brennan Garrett, Andrew Eshelman, Danny Hickson and his whole team. Ernie, I know, was doing a lot of work there. Josh O'Neill and the IT team, and just all the staff from 80 West. They packed up, they moved over the weekend. I was out there yesterday. They're getting settled in. All the desks are set up. Computers are running. There's Scott right there. Scott, I just mentioned the team. I hope I didn't forget anybody. I'm sure I did, but it took a lot of people to make this move from the when we first found out that we had to move, searching for new locations, obviously with the support of this board, and it all worked great, and only worked great because of the employees. So I want to thank everyone who had anything to do with that move. So if you're looking for the permits or construction or engineering, they're now out at 747 Northern Avenue. So,
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I got a text right away yesterday morning saying, where can I go get a permit? Where do I go? I didn't know for sure if they were up and running. I called Rich Eichelberger, and 747, ready to go at 9 o'clock in the morning or so.
right, so we were talking about, obviously we always refer to 80 West, and so 747, I don't know if that's what we're going to call it, but it's the administrative annex, but it's out there. So if you get a chance to go out there, it's very good. I was going to go out first thing yesterday morning, but I decided not to because I know they were right in the middle of everything. But I got there a little after lunch yesterday, and boy, it's a good location, but the staff and everybody did a great job, so thank everybody for that.
And I'm sure there's a big sign down at the Baltimore Street telling people coming in for permits to go out to
There is.
Northern Avenue.
Yeah.
And the other interesting question would be to know how many employees actually forgot that where their place of employment was and drove to Baltimore Street this morning.
They're not going to admit that, but yeah, we were joking around about that yesterday, that for so many years you get up and you go there, and now they have to go somewhere else. But thanks to everybody who had anything to do with that move, from acquiring the property to moving. It was a great thing. And the last thing is Easter this weekend, so there'll be no commissioner meeting next week. The next meeting will be April 26th.
Thank you. Any other staff comments from anyone? Seeing none, we'll begin with citizens' participation. We're a little early. If anyone comes in afterwards, we'll go back to them. Anybody here for citizens' participation? Please come forward and give your name and address for the record, sir.
May I sit, or?
Oh, yes, indeed, you may.
Yeah, my name is Bo Weemat, and I live at 15914 Riverbend Court, Williamsport, Maryland. Taxpayer and concerned citizen. How much time do I have?
Pardon me?
How much time do I have?
Oh, you got about 3 minutes.
3 minutes? Okay.
Yeah, we're not going to cut you off at 3 exactly.
First, I'd like to thank you, all of you here, for allowing me to do this, but I'd like to especially thank Commissioner Burkett for meeting with me yesterday to try to resolve a matter related to what I would like to speak about today. Today, I'm here specifically just to ask all you commissioners one question and get a response. I'm going to have to read from prepared text because I won't remember everything that I want to ask, you want to say. I'm going to give a little bit of background so that everyone behind me and all citizens can have a better understanding of why I'm asking this question. The Washington County taxpayers own a valuable asset that is recorded as such in the courthouse named Dorsey Road. This Board of County Commissioners is tasked with the oversight, care, management, and control of this asset to ensure its continued and unfettered availability to all citizens of this county. This Board of County Commissioners has allowed a private entity to carve out portions of this public asset for private use. This carve-out was effected by the installation of fences, stone barriers, and no trespassing signs by the private entity on this public asset. Taxpayers, including myself and everyone behind me, are thus now prohibited their fair use and enjoyment rights to this asset they purchased and entrusted to the management in perpetuity to this board. Every taxpayer in this county suffers from this board's actions. Yet there were no public hearings held, no public notices published by this board prior to the board transferring control of this valuable public asset to the private sector. The county attorney's office has acknowledged to me in writing that this transfer of public rights has occurred and that this commission apparently approves the action. Now, the one specific question I want to ask, and the only reason I'm here today, what section of the Code of Public Laws or any other set of adopted rules of law of this county gives this board before me, of county commissioners, the authority to do the following: cede control of any portion of this valuable public asset to the private sector without holding public hearings or publishing a notice of intent to transfer this control. This transfer of control is complete and has not been recorded in the public record at the courthouse. So my question is, by what authority, what county code have you allowed this transfer to take place? I've asked this question of this board over the past year. I've been working on this. I spent $5,000 of my own money on professional expenses to try to get an answer to this question. Been communicating somewhat with Commissioner Baker. That's who I've addressed all my letters to. I guess you probably sent them on, someone here sent them on to the county attorney's office, and they did respond to me. However, they wouldn't answer this question either. They rambled on one sentence too long that makes it very clear they understand the question, but they're not answering it. I suspect they're not answering it because I know the answer. That's the only reason I'm asking here today. I know the answer, and I want to hear that answer from you. And thank you for meeting with me yesterday on a related matter. I asked you the same question, and you couldn't answer me. That was probably a good move. But can I get an answer? How did you? Why did you cede public? Why did you cede that?
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Wynette, this is a legal matter.
It is.
We dispute your characterizations of the fact and the law, and nothing further will be provided to you today.
Oh, so no justification as to why you ceded control of public property to a private entity?
We have responded to your inquiry. We do not agree with your characterization of the facts. Thank you very much for your comments.
Harsh.
Thank you for
I'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, next, citizens' participation. Please come forward, introduce yourself and your name and address for the record.
My name is Dave Williams. For transparency, I'm a candidate for commissioner. My wife's on the school board. I live in Smithsburg, 11 West Water Street. Good morning, commissioners. As you continue your FY23 budget deliberations, I'd like to give you a quick 10-point Board of Education budget request recap. 1, before even hearing the BOE budget presentation, you cut the request by $1.6 million. 2, no overall inflationary factor was figured into the request as presented. Only 5 or 6 categories did adjust for inflation, but less than the current rate. 3, the budget requested by the Board of Education is a 4.41% increase over FY22. Compare that to the annual inflation rate for the 12 months ending in February, which is 7.9%. 4, the school system is facing a staffing crisis at all employee levels, similar to what you attempted to address in the Sheriff's Department. Raises are needed to attract and retain good teachers, administrators, bus drivers, custodians, and ESPs. 5, the resource pool is where those raises come from. Since most other budget categories remain fixed at levels to just maintain the status quo, the resource pool is where cuts may have to come from when the budget request is not fully funded. 6, some commissioners have spoken in favor of funding the 5.5 new positions reflected in the budget. Those commissioners recognize the need for more elementary counselors, 2 social workers, and 2 English learner teachers that full funding will allow. 7, some commissioners have spoken in favor of funding the pay increases reflected in the budget for sheriff's deputies serving as school resource officers. During your joint meeting with the Board of Education, no discussion was permitted about transferring all costs for school resource officers to the Sheriff's Department. 8, the BOE is in the process of hiring a new superintendent. I want to remind you that currently it is a seller's market for school superintendents. The demand for superintendents far exceeds the supply. One of the factors potential candidates consider before even applying is the level of local support for education. Fully funding the BOE budget as requested would certainly help attract quality superintendent candidates. 9, if you can fully fund the BOE budget and cut taxes at the same time, more power to you. But please keep in mind all of the future county needs, including the Sheriff's Department salaries and transitioning EMS personnel to county employment. And finally, please show that you value public education by fully funding the Board of Education budget.
Thank you very much. Continuing with citizens' participation, is there anyone else? Seeing none, we will move on with our budget. Update on the municipal separate stormwater system. Dave Mason, John, please, everyone, please come forward and introduce yourselves in the matter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dave Mason, Deputy Director. With me is John Schwager, our Stormwater Management Coordinator, and Alex Reed, Watershed Specialist. We're here today simply to give you an update on where we stand with the MS4 permitting and federal mandates, just for informational purposes. So, latest was we had an audit from the EPA in 2020. They came, visited multiple sites, county-owned facilities, privately owned facilities, and just kind of gave us an overall opinion on how we were faring. There were about 8 shortfalls that they pointed out. We were able to fix 6 of them pretty quickly, work on the last 2. One of them just updating the database, and the last one is updating some of the issues at central section of highways. But we should be able to tackle all those within the next year or so, we hope. The biggest thing came out of the meetings was that, too many hands in the pot. We need to consolidate our stormwater services into as few departments as possible. At the time, we had like 5 different departments handling different aspects of the stormwater management program. So we're working with John. He has, been working with us on consolidating some things. We've started taking in some of the inspections to John and Alex's staff, and working toward meeting those EPA requests. So we have asked for another inspector position, well, not another, an inspector position for stormwater specific in the next budget, which will go a long way to help consolidate some of the tasks. So we're currently reevaluating some of our processes. They've changed some of the credits for tree plantings and stream restoration, so we're kind of reevaluating our entire program just to make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck for the money we have to spend to meet the mandates. But we are on schedule to meet the mandates. John, talk a little bit further about that.
Good morning. When I refer to we in my comments, it's we as the county and multiple departments and divisions. That's just not this department. Just want to provide you an update on the county's progress towards Part 5 of our NPDS Phase 2 permit. And you may recall that the second generation of the NPDS permit was issued on October 31st, 2018. In addition to the 6 minimum control measures of the permit, Part 5, titled Chesapeake Bay Restoration and Meeting Total Maximum Daily Loads, requires the county to make pollution reductions to comply with the assumptions and requirements of the Chesapeake Bay Total Maximum Daily Load. This requirement of the NPDS permit obligates the county to restore 20% of the impervious area within the urbanized area that has little to no stormwater management. The urbanized area has approximately 4,353 impervious acres, of which 662 have adequate stormwater treatment. The remaining 20% of that amount is 738 acres, which the county must restore by 2025. The county has and continues to implement a variety of alternative treatment and restorative approaches, which include tree plantings, outfall restoration, stream bank restoration, connections of septic systems to the wastewater treatment plant, septic pumping, street sweeping, inlet cleaning, and installation of stormwater best management practices. To date, we have restored approximately 473 acres, with about 265 acres remaining. However, as we move forward, progress will require a higher level of effort and time since we have picked over the low-hanging fruit. And finally, we are planning for a third generation of the permit to be issued at the expiration of this current permit with the anticipation of additional mandates and restoration requirements.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in here. I'm Alex Reed. I'm the county's watershed specialist, so I would like to talk about some of the successes we've had. So first and foremost, April 18th through the 22nd is going to be designated as Stormwater Week. We've been working with public relations on filming some online content to sort of put out some of the important things that we think that are relevant to the community in regards to stormwater, like what is stormwater, why should you care about it, and sort of highlighting some of the things our staff has done. So the 18th through the 22nd, that's going to culminate in the 22nd is Earth Day. So we're going to be hosting an online tree planting and cleanup event at the county's recently purchased property out on Antietam Drive and Security Boulevard. So, we'd like to see you all there if you can make it. That's going to be a good time. Plant a few trees, clean up some trash, be a good day. Dave mentioned the new employees. I would just like to highlight who they are. This is Courtney Malott and Josh Trott, who are our new stormwater techs, and having them come on board has been just an absolute blessing. We got super lucky, and we've more than doubled our output in terms of production. All the mandates that Dave and John talked about, these are federal mandates. We have to do these things. So we take that responsibility to the citizens very, very serious. Everything we do is spending time. Having them on board has been an absolute blessing. We've been able to just crush our workload. We're able to get caught up on all the EPA-related things, the things we got dinged on. Because again, don't forget the MS4 permit that John oversees, there are fines associated with that potentially if we don't meet the mandates. So that there have been fines in the past with some of the municipalities, some of the counties of Maryland. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Some of you know that we have the street sweeper in the county as a part of our Clean County initiative. We're approaching 4 million pounds. Okay, so that's been 2018 or 2019 is when that program kicked off. So we're approaching 4 million pounds of debris picked up. And that's no insignificant thing. That's all on our county right-of-ways. That's obviously we're staying out of the town of Hagerstown, but our area is working around the Hagerstown. We're in the communities. As we're cleaning up 4 million pounds, we're also picking up litter along the county's right-of-ways in people's neighborhoods, cleaning up, if somebody throws cans out, water bottles, whatever it would be. And we're pretty stoked on that. Talking about the Chesapeake Bay Watershed Implementation Plan, let me take a step back. We are working with EPA and MDE on finalizing the Kanika Jig Restoration Plan. Once that gets approved by EPA, that's going to allow the county to go after more grant funding for projects within the area of the Kanika Jig watershed. And that's going to be it's going to be awesome. The county's not going to have to pay out of pocket for some of this stuff, and it opens up resources for us that are currently off limits. We're going to be working with some of the local septic providers in the coming weeks on trying to establish a grant-funded septic program. Don't have a lot of details on that yet. Going to give it Charlie Semler and a lot of the guys out there to find out exactly where the needs are for county residents and how we can use some grant funding from the state to, help out county residents with some of their septic issues, but also while we're doing that, we're addressing local water quality, including groundwater. Tree plantings, we just put out 18.5. Scott Hobbs, Pam, and their team was fantastic. We got 18.5 acres of tree plantings getting ready to happen on county property. We're working with the Board of Ed on another 30 acres to go out for bid come the fall. That's going to be a lot of the county properties that we can plant trees on. We work with Andrew Eshman and his team, really trying to find the places that we really don't need to be maintaining as open space. Let's go ahead and plant these to trees. Obviously, that we get credit for our programs for that. And you're going to start seeing these no-mow zone signs going up. So we're going to start putting these around some of our already established tree plantings to allow those areas to come back more natural. It's good for the budgets. We don't have to have as many people out there running machinery, mowing these areas. And also that allows it to become a natural area, in which case we get more of the reductions that they're tracking for pollution reductions and whatnot. Because we have the new team, we've been able to increase our field work significantly. Within the last couple months, we've been able to access and clean up 170 sites. So that's individual sites that we're going around cleaning up. Their PR and their team, we've been able to stand up an illegal dump form that is now on the county's website. So any county resident who comes, somebody with dumped tires, furniture, I'm sure we all see it as we're driving around the back roads where somebody just decided it's too expensive to go to the landfill, so I'm just going to throw it off the side of the road. If somebody sees that, they're able to access a form online, fill it out, let us know where it's at, and we're able to be super responsive to this. We're able to be out there within hours of receiving the form, and I follow up with every single person. It's been super successful. Within the last 3 months of this being on board, we've received 9 complaints through that, which is kind of amazing, because, I mean, that's 9 people who were able to navigate through, the channels to get there. So as we're doing more of these, we're pushing that out, and so we hope to see more people use that, and that allows us to keep, the community clean. Recently, we held a event in Williamsport, a cleanup event with the town of Williamsport. That was 1,100 pounds picked up in a few hours. Phenomenal. This past weekend, our team worked with the Canal Trust, Alice Ferguson Foundation on Park Service property. We were able to get 1,500 pounds cleaned up within a few hours. But this was also a site that was reported to us by citizens. So there's county property and the Park Service, so we were able to work out a partnership. We were able to get in there with us on a Saturday morning, knocked it out. So we have a few more cleanups coming up. Our organization is going to be hosting 1 cleanup a month on a Saturday morning. And that sort of takes me back to us working within the community. Part of what we do is engage with local community organizations. And the one that I'd like to point a spotlight at today is the Anti-Kanika Watershed Alliance. We have a few of the members here, and I understand that we've developed like a certificate of appreciation and everything. So where's my Aqua folks at? Oh, they're over here. So we have the president, Susan Simonson, and one of the OG people who stood up the organization. That's Dave Beiser. So can I get you to go ahead and come on forward? Yeah, do it now.
We have a presentation.
Yeah, so if we can go ahead and let them know that we appreciate all the work that they do. They put in countless hours on their time, their dime. A lot of what they were doing initially, they were paying out of pocket for the tipping fees at the landfill, and they've done a lot of work. So,
well, before I begin, every late March or April on my Facebook page, Dave Beiser shows up helping me plant trees in Williamsport. Thank you very much for that. There's a young lady about 20 years old who was in that little girl, and her mom and grandmother cherished that day. She remembers planting trees in Williamsport's Barron Memorial Park. So thank you. So on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, we'd like to present the Certificate of Recognition to the Anti-Kanika Watershed Alliance. The Board of County Commissioners of Washington County would like to recognize the staff and team of the Anti-Kanika Watershed Alliance for their diligent effort put forth in protecting and restoring the Antietam Creek and the Kanika Creek, to include its tributaries, by logging over 2,000 hours of manpower for stream cleanups, collection over 9,700 pounds of trash, planting over 130 trees, and collection of water quality data at over 165 sites. Your work will be enjoyed by future generations of Washington County, and we thank you for your efforts. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And would you join the commissioners up front for a photo?
I need to do that. Oh, I don't know if I can make it.
2, 3. Thank you.
That's what's up.
So Commissioners, we just want to thank you for your support over the last several years with this program and understanding that, you know, these are mandates that we have no say in. We're just trying to do what we're told and, you know, working hard to try to make sure that we don't get fined or anything. So if you have any questions, I'll entertain them at this time.
I know Alex could write a book with everything he just said. That's,
Yes, he
you
can.
guys,
We're crushing it.
you
I'm
guys do
telling
so
you.
much, yeah.
And we take this very seriously.
I actually do have a question.
Get you some.
It should be an easy one. You said that you have to restore 738 acres, and you've completed 473. So when did we start the restoration project?
The permit started in 2018, however, they let us retroactively do some stuff that we had done previously. So I would go back to about 2006 with some of the early stream restorations and treatment.
So we're on pace to get the remaining 200-plus acres
We're optimistic.
restored by 2026. Is that what the year you said, 2026?
2025,
2025, okay.
and that's tied to the Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I remember all that. So, that's, congratulations, great job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
And thank this board for obviously been very supportive in the new positions you mentioned and hiring the new people. So a great job to all of you. Thank
We
you.
appreciate that, for real.
Yep.
Awesome. You guys have a good one.
Thank you. Next up, Rachel Sauders, proclamation recognizing April as Fair Housing Month.
Good morning. In accordance with Rachel Sauders, Senior Grant Manager, Office of Grant Management. In accordance with the Federal Civil Rights Act of 1968, Washington County will promote, through fair, orderly, and lawful procedures, the opportunity for each person to obtain their choice of housing in this community without regard to race, color, national origin, ethnicity, gender, disability, familial status, marital status, age, or religion. And as part of their efforts to raise awareness of fair housing rights, the Board of County Commissioners recognize April as Fair Housing Month each year and invite local housing agencies to come and be acknowledged for the work they do in our county. And I know that there are some of these agencies in attendance today.
Do you recognize them?
I know that the Washington County Community Action Council, Jordy, is here. Do you wanna stand? Did any, I don't know. Oh.
Amy Galena with Habitat for Humanity, Washington County.
And then was someone from the Hagerstown Neighborhood Development Partnership here? Yes, they couldn't make it. They were going to.
All right, we'll meet up here for, bring your friends forward. Mr. Newman, everybody. On behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, we'd like to present this proclamation for Fair Housing Month, April 2022. Whereas April 2022 marks the 54th anniversary of the passage of Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, commonly known as the Federal Fair Housing Act. And whereas the Fair Housing Act emphasizes a national policy of fair housing designed to protect Americans from discrimination in the sale, rental, and financing of housing based on color, race, sex, national origin, disability, family status, and religion. And whereas equal housing is an important component of family and community health and stability. And whereas housing choice impacts our children's access to education, our ability to seek and retain employment options, the cultural benefits we enjoy, the extent of our exposure to crime and drugs, and the quality of health care we receive in emergencies. And whereas the laws of this nation and our state seek to ensure such quality of choice for all transactions involving housing, and whereas ongoing education, outreach, and monitoring are key to raising awareness of fair housing principles, practices, rights, and responsibilities. Now, you thought I had one more whereas, didn't you? Now, therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, Maryland, proudly hereby recognize April as Fair Housing Month. Congratulations. Thank you for all your efforts that you did. Now, would you join the commissioners for a photo from the commission?
It's okay to fall as long as I don't fall on my head.
Okay. Don't break that muscle, buddy.
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
That happens when you turn 80.
Getting there.
On the agenda, hotel rental tax requests, 2022, Juneteenth. Susan Buchanan, that's you. And whoever you have as guests, please come forward. Susan, please introduce yourselves and the matter.
Good morning, Susan Buchanan, Director, Office of Grant Management. And joining me today, we have Alicia Parson, Project Director, Dolman Black Heritage Museum. And also we have Cherie McCord, is that correct? From Friends of Dolman Black Heritage Museum. And we also have in the audience Tamara Dolman, the treasurer for Dolman. And then I think Mr. Paul Ward is also in the audience from the board.
He's a board member.
Yes. We're here this morning because the Dolman Black Heritage Museum has submitted a hotel rental tax grant application requesting $29,000 toward the cost of the 2022 Juneteenth celebration, Hagerstown. The total projected cost of the project is $73,234. The remaining portion of the expenses will be paid for with a combination of fundraising efforts, sponsorships, and grants, including $14,500 from the Hagerstown, Washington County Convention and Visitors Bureau, and a pending request submitted to the City of Hagerstown for $28,300. The application has been reviewed by the Office of Grant Management, and the project meets the goals of the Hotel Rental Tax Grant Program. The hotel rental tax balance, fund balance, will be reduced by the amount of any award made today, and the current balance of the fund is $318,126. I'll now turn over the presentation to Ms. Parson to give a little more information about the event.
Okay, the event it's going to be a 3-day event. It starts on Friday with education as to why we celebrate Juneteenth, why it is a national holiday now, and why the city and the county should embrace it. So that's what Friday evening is about. Saturday evening is about cultural inclusion, wherein we invite everyone out to have a good time with family-friendly games and recreation, along with Civic Organization Day and Church Day. Throughout American history, especially for the descendants of the enslaved, church was our anchor. It was where we got the strength to survive. So we pay homage to that on Saturday. On Sunday, it will be on Juneteenth, the actual June 19th. We're looking for a venue. We had an agreement with Bridge of Life. However, they've been having some phone issues and we've not been able to get through to them. But we're hoping to take it indoors. And that will be a full production by Missing Link Productions out of DC that will do a full-on production, and we want to keep it free to the public. That's partly why we need these funds to pay for those entertainers on all 3 evenings. But more importantly, the Dolman Black Heritage Museum is only hosting this. They do not reap any benefit or financial revenue from this event. This event is one of those events where I have personally been working since 2005 to get the city and the county to even acknowledge. Last year, we had our first. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful day. And also, it coincides with the bike race that Joe Jefferson has. So when we talk about foot traffic downtown, and Commissioner Klein was there last year, it was just a beautiful feel downtown on that Friday. You could walk from any corner of downtown to any other corner of downtown, and you got this sense of safety and love because these things that are going on are positive. One of the things that the Friends of group has decided early on was that we do not remove our homeless population because the nonprofit community that comes out in full force to support this has the resources that they may need in order to transition them from homeless into programs and or shelters. So we tend to work well with our homeless population. If you know anything about University Plaza, it is sometimes overflowing with the homeless. We get them involved by asking them to help lift and carry things, and we don't have them removed. We want this to truly embody what Juneteenth is all about, and Juneteenth is all about our communities coming together in harmony and understanding of the history that may have caused this may have been ugly, but the essence of it and it carrying on is basically just to bring us all together as a community. So that's where we are. If you have any questions, I do also want to say that I am a graduate of HCC, 2 degrees from there, and a couple other colleges. And my father was a veteran. And this young lady here, she and her fiance are property owners in Hagerstown. So we touched chords with everything that you all have been talking about this morning, and yet I'm recognizing you. She and her fiance have several properties, and they started the Blooms Alley Coalition, co-op. I think it's where they allow.
It's a retail incubator space for artisans in downtown Hagerstown. So for vendors to sell artistic work downtown.
And so I commend you for that. And she's being modest about the rental properties that they have, that they do make certain that the rents stay affordable. I can tell you as a Hagerstown resident who chooses to rent instead of buy because we own property in Jamaica, but we choose to rent here, and that is very important because we see rental prices hiking all around, and for someone to be cognizant of that and who doesn't basically qualify for the low-income housing and things like that, the people like this who are reinvesting into the city and the county are making certain that they're not overcharging people. So I want to take the moment to commend you for that. And we have Tamara Dolman here, who is the granddaughter of the founders of the museum. And once again, I commend you for your work that you do with the museum. She is the treasurer, and she is she is the daughter of Rosemary Dolman Lucas, who passed on Christmas Eve. So everything that she does this year, you know, she's living through those first without. And we know how difficult that is. So Tamara, I want to thank you for being here. And Mr. Ward, who is always here, he is also a board member. He's a recent board member. I think you've been on almost a year. And so what he brings to the board is most important, because he allows us to, sometimes you can get so used to doing what you do that you don't see how it's seen from the outside. So Mr. Ward brings us to that understanding. But I want to make certain that I make it clear that these funds are not going in to help the Dormant Black Heritage Museum itself. It's basically to raise the awareness of this holiday, which is now a federal holiday. And so we were hoping that we can get the community, the county, the city on board, that one day we will look at this as we do 4th of July, because it carries the same weight.
Commissioners, any comments, questions? Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Did you second? Dwayne, I thought.
There was 2
First.
seconds.
Is there a
Oh,
Oh,
second.
Wayne's.
I have a first and a
Wayne
second.
second.
Okay, whoever. We're fighting over to approve this. Well, how's that for good news?
Okay, but before you vote, I do want to ask, you remember last year when we had on the Educational Day on Friday, we had people read quotes from the abolitionists? I would appreciate it if all of you guys would read one,
Okay, well,
if that's
get
possible.
it on our schedule. First, let's take care of this. I have a first and a second. No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, and any other closing comments? Go ahead.
I want to thank you all. I thank you all for allowing us to come in. I would also like to ask that, since this has been approved, if we could do a pay-as-you-go, wherein we just submit the invoices to you all, because if those funds go into the Dome and Black Heritage Museum's coffers, then they have to declare it on their taxes. So is that possible? Because she may need you all to approve that.
Typically, this is in advance. Hotel rental would give in advance. And then 30 days after the event, you show us the documentation of expenses. You're looking at, you would prefer to just have it be reimbursement based? Is that what you're saying? No, you wanted.
I want the artists and all that paid directly from you all, not.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
We can have that discussion
That's
after.
okay. Have a discussion, but
It's- I wouldn't need to be
congratulations on the
approved here. We
approval
can
for
figure out
today.
the.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda, the Miller Rural Legacy Program easement. Mr. Boggs, please
Morning,
introduce
Commissioners.
yourself.
Chris Boggs, Rural Preservation Administrator, Department of Planning and Zoning. This morning I bring to you the Joshua and Lindsay Miller Rural Legacy Easement Project. This is a project located at 16951 Sprecher Road, Sharpsburg. It used to be the Camp Merrimack property. So they bought it. They're gonna live there. So it's not gonna be a sleepaway camp or anything anymore. So they have a heck of a lot of work in front of them. But at any rate, they've gone through the process, the ranking and everything, and then they were one of our top properties for this cycle. Parcel's mostly wooded. There's a little bit of hay land there on the east side. It lies in a part of the county that was heavily trafficked during the Civil War, Battle of Antietam, all that. It does abut the historic Sprecher Road Bridge that goes over Marsh Run. Marsh Run itself traverses through the whole way through the property. For 3,300 linear feet. Parcel is going to fill a gap amongst thousands of acres of preserved farmland. 7 development rights are going to be extinguished with this easement. That's our basic transaction for permanent preservation. So this property is part of our FY22 funding. At this point, we've preserved over 8,100 acres with the Rural Legacy Program. That's 8,100 of 37,500 total permanently preserved acres. That's just with land preservation easements. FY22, we were granted $1.5543 million for our Rural Legacy grant, and this is part of that. Funds are 100% state dollars, and the county received 3% of the easement value to cover administrative costs and 1.5% for compliance and monitoring. Those percentages are a portion of what their easement value is. So the state board and DNR both approve our program. And of course, if we reject the funds, they'll just be allocated to another county in Maryland. So my recommended motion to approve the Miller Rural Legacy Easement Project in the amount of $444,210 over 138.68 easement acres.
Motion to approve.
There's the first, is there a second?
Second.
Second. Mr. Burke, One question though.
Sure.
I'll could ask an hour later. How many total acres of land in preservation?
37,500 in permanent preservation.
How many in like the 10-year?
In the 10-year, I just ran the numbers for that last week. I think it's around 10,000 though.
I think you know the answer because I asked the question. How many acres of land do we have in Washington County has some type of preservation from 10-year to royal?
Well, if it's, if you're looking in total, I think those numbers are around,
92,000, Chris?
there's
92,000, sound right?
something like that. Yeah, I know I just did the calculation for him last week. I can't remember off the top of my
How many
head.
approximately acres in Washington County?
Yeah, and there's about 200,000 acres in Washington
We have
County,
a
so.
third or something of the land in preservation.
So, yeah, and I mean, you know, right now is a good time because funding is actually starting to get a tick up. It's, I guess there's a lot of transfer tax coming in, so.
Forgive me for interrupting, but we have a first and a second. Any other?
Yeah, and I just have a curious question. You had mentioned this is the former Camp Merrimack property?
Yes.
And I mean, I didn't know it was sold, but, so that means there's no more Camp Merrimack? Do they own any other?
Well, there hasn't been a real, I guess there hasn't been and it hasn't been officially Camp Merrimack in a while. It was previously owned by the Church of Christian Disciples out of Baltimore, Maryland, and it would be, they ran it kind of as a sleepaway camp during the summer there for up until I think 2018. And then they started having some financial issues, I think. So then there wasn't a camp for a couple years, and then of course COVID, there you weren't having anybody bunk in the same 10 by 12 cabin. So, yeah, and so I guess they just decided to put it on the market, and Miller's purchased it. So,
Any
and
other
it's just,
discussion, questions?
well, and the thing is that when the church owned it, you know, they knew that it was a good quality rural legacy property. I guess they just had no interest in putting it in the program. So, of course, the new owners are happy to.
All right, commissioners, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Next up, Brandy, please introduce yourself in the matter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brandy Nagelmeyer in the Purchasing Department.
Doug Levine, Supervisor Operations, Highway.
The recommendation I have for you this morning is intergovernmental cooperative purchase, INTG 22-0084. This is traffic barriers for the Washington County Highway Department. Move to authorize by resolution for the highway of $273 and to use another jurisdiction's contract which was awarded in combination with the State of Maryland Department of Transportation and the State Highway Administration to L.S. Lee out of York, Pennsylvania. The barriers are being installed at the following locations. It's Hopewell Road northbound, right side 1,500 feet north of Shawnee Terrace Road, and Hopewell Road northbound and southbound, right side of Pepperbush Circle. The Code of Public Law does allow the Board of County Commissioners to procure goods and services through a contract entered into by another government entity, as long as we abide by the same terms and conditions. The county will benefit with a direct cost savings in this purchase due to the economies of scale that the contract has leveraged. Funding is available in the Highway Department's operating budget for this purchase.
Commissioners, comments?
Motion to approve.
Motions. I have a second. Any further discussion?
Are these permanent barriers?
Guardrail, yes.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
I vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, transportation priority letters. Mr. Scott Hobbs.
Good morning, Scott Hobbs, Director of Engineering. I'm here to request consensus by the board to move forward with submitting the transportation priorities as listed on the attached 2022 Transportation Priorities Letter. The county holds a consolidated transportation program meeting with the Maryland Department of Transportation, State Highway Administration every year in the fall to discuss transportation priorities for the county and the city. The county and city provide a letter in the spring identifying these priorities for discussion and consideration in the state's CTP. Projects listed in the transportation priorities letter have remained consistent throughout the last several years. No new projects have been added to this year's letter, and the Interstate 81 widening project remains listed as the county's #1 transportation priority. Attached, we have a project map that's shown here on the screen, and then the letters attached as draft format. So if we have any comments or questions?
Any update from Annapolis or anything that we have request there?
Not yet, but we're optimistic to hear from the governor regarding the Federal Transportation Federal Funding Act. So we're hoping to hear soon. We're still waiting.
Scott, can you speak to anything about the highway user revenues? Where we stand, what amount we anticipate to get this year, and could that go up, or?
I think it still remains consistent. I know Andrew Eshelman's here in the audience with me. He's done a lot of research and discussion over the last few years with that along with us, and we share that every year at the transportation meeting. I believe it's slightly above from last year, but it's still not to the levels that we've seen in the past. The municipalities' numbers are coming up close to what they've had in the past, but the counties with the formulas are still lacking in the funding that is being received. So there's some bills, I guess, that are in the works. We're hoping that that works its way through, and that'll definitely help the situation.
What did specifically House Bill 1187 seek to achieve? And, I mean, we're at the end of session now, so.
Right. Yeah, I think, Andrew, you want to go? Andrew's been more involved with this and
busting out the scene to you.
Yeah, well, I'll try to jump in here. Although, let's say Andrew Eshelman, Director of Public Works. So yes, there was a lot under consideration this year for highway user revenues. There was several bills. The one that the county and MACO was supporting was House Bill 1187, and then there was a other bill in the Senate was 726. 726. So I don't know where things are as of over the weekend, because I think they had to reach a consensus. But Scott's kind of right. Originally, in that bill was a proposal to restore the funding levels back to the pre-2009. So the county would have gone from 1.5% up to 15.3%. Would have been a substantial increase. The most recent version that we saw, I believe we looked at it Friday, it basically cut the county's portion back down to the 3% range.
So I don't know. I haven't had a chance to look this morning as to what the final, as you know, the session ended yesterday, so we'll be able to know. But Senate,
say percent, what dollar amount are you talking about?
It's a percent of what is ultimately collected. So you figure at the 1.5% plus we were receiving a capital grant on top of that, we were getting about $2 million. Previously under the 15% range, they were bringing in more in total. We were getting about $9 million. So where does 3% land us? In some ways, if they remove the capital grant that goes along us, we kind of stay where we are. So I don't know, like I said, John, if what was finally reconciled.
We'll look what was finally done. But Senate Bill 726 differed significantly from the House bill. And it talked about like a 3.2%, and then it go up so much per year. And then in FY28, it would come back down to 3.7%. And that's for counties. Municipalities the same way, but they would, they're at about 2%, and then it's going to go up to a high of about 3%. So that's the percentage of the amount of money that's given, and the city of Baltimore gets their own thing. So I know they were going back and forth, even yesterday. So we'll see where that ended up, and then we can report back to you.
HB 1187's been sent to the governor.
Is there consensus for the letter? Requesting
I wonder if they amended that to try to match the Senate bill. So we'll find out. We'll figure all that out.
Consensus to approve the letter?
I agree.
Yes, fine.
5 nods. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, part-time employee position differential. Sir, please introduce yourself in the matter.
Morning. Lane Heimer. I'm with the Maryland Department of Agriculture. I'm the statewide administrator for the Noxious Weed Control Program. I'm here before you today, excuse me, to request a part-time position differential for the weed control technician position. These are employees that are hired seasonally. and part-time, well, they're pretty full-time during the season, but they're considered part-time seasonal. The report in brief, an increased wage and labor shortage pressures continue to adversely affect the county's ability to successfully recruit staff and retain part-time employees. The use of targeted part-time employee position differential offers the most focused, cost-effective countermeasure. Part-time employee position differentials would add a designated amount to the employee's established grade, a step pay rate for recruitment and retention of weed control technician positions. The request for this position differential is $2.50, which is 17.2% above the posted rate for the 4 current and 2 open weed control technician positions. Again, the position hires at a grade 4, step 7, with posted rate of $14.53. This request is similar to one that in November of last year that was approved for the Parks and Rec, Black Rock Golf Course, Hagerstown Regional Airport, and the transit. Fiscal impact would be, for the remainder of FY22, would be $7,200, and for FY23 would be approximately $15,000. On that note, it was not addressed in this, but the weed control program in your county is self-sufficient. It does not use any general funds. We support through the revenues from the spraying that we do for the noxious weeds and invasive weeds. Any questions?
Where's your revenue source? What is it?
Well, we have multiple revenue sources. Primarily, State Highway Administration. We do all their spraying for noxious weeds and invasive weeds, and they pay us an hourly rate, and we map what we do for them. So that is the primary source. Other sources are many different private corporations and individuals. We spray for farmers, all on a fee basis. We actually do work for the county as well. We spray noxious weeds on the landfill and for the county highway department, and actually now for the emergency towers, different things to try to fill in where it's needed.
So as Lane said, this is not a general fund. This is all self-supported through the fees and the revenue that are done through this program.
Mr. Heimer, if I could just ask a question, just for clarity, and sorry I don't know the answer to this. You're an employee of the Maryland Department of Agriculture, not county government. Are the employees that you're talking about, are they county employees, or do they work for the state as well? Those are county employees.
They are county employees. Yeah, it's an interesting program. I supervise a statewide program. We have 16 county programs, down from originally 20 counties. We're trying to reestablish in some areas. And the agreement we have with your county, I don't have a copy of it with me. There's an agreement each year that's signed that we work with and we supervise, and you have a county weed coordinator in the county who actually runs the program day to day, if you will, but we actually do the overall oversight for the program.
Okay. Just curious. Thank you.
I've been doing this county for 37 years.
Very good. Is there a motion to support or any other questions?
Motion to support.
Second.
First and second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think next up is Dr. Klauber. Oh, I didn't see you hiding over there, sorry. Well, welcome. Please introduce yourself and the matter.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Dr. Jim Klauber, President of HCC. Come before you today just to ask for a reallocation of capital improvement from two projects that we've had. I guess last year, the year before last, you approved $608,000 in capital funding for our Learning Resource Center re-roof and repaneling project. That project actually came in a little bit under budget, which is amazing. And we only needed about $444,474 for local match for that project, creating a difference of $163,526. We were a little over budget, though, on the CBUS, and what I'd like to ask you all to do today is just to reallocate that money
from the LRC project to CBUS and let us finish those projects up.
Nice event Saturday.
Thank you, sir. Glad to see you all there.
Commissioners, thoughts, comments?
A motion to approve.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Next up, FY '22 budget adjustments, Pittsburgh wastewater treatment. Folks, please come forward, introduce yourselves and the matter.
Good morning, Kelsey Mace, Interim Chief Financial Officer.
Mark Bradshaw, Director of Environmental Management.
And today we're coming in to request a budget adjustment to replace budgeted 2022 bond proceeds with proceeds from a state loan. The Smithsburg Wastewater Treatment Plant ENR upgrade project has been identified for financing by the Maryland Water Quality Financing Administration through the Water Quality State Revolving Fund. These types of loans offer a more favorable interest rate than general obligation bonds. This adjustment replaces the proposed bond funding with the state loan proceeds at the projected loan amount. And the additional funds will be used to cover increasing costs of the project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a first and second. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor? Go ahead.
No, what we would do is reduce the bond issuance that we're going to do next month by that $3 million. Yes.
Further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, discussion fiscal year '23 property tax rate. Is Kim here with you? Okay, please introduce yourself to
No,
the
unfortunately,
matter.
Kim was ill today, so I asked Daryl to come sit with me. So hello again, Kelsey Mace, Interim Chief Financial Officer.
Daryl Brown, County Supervisor.
And last week, staff was tasked to provide the effect on the FY '23 general fund budget if the real property tax rate was reduced 1 cent or 2 cents. The current real property tax rate is .948 per $100 of assessed value. The county's personal property tax rate is 2.5 times the real property tax rate. A reduction in the real property tax rate will result in a reduction in the personal property tax rate. So being presented today are two general fund budget scenarios based on if the rate was reduced to .938 or 1 cent, or if the rate was reduced to .928, which is 2 cents. Both budget scenarios assume that the differential would remain at the 12.5 cents and takes into account $1 million in savings for vacancies. The remaining reduction was balanced through the additional pension contribution. A 1 cent reduction in the tax rate results in $1,525,720 reduction in the FY '23 budget. A 2 cent reduction results in a $3,051,450 reduction in the FY '23 budget. And attached to your R for the revenue and expense reports based on those two scenarios.
You mentioned the PP personal, that's the tax that they do your own businesses, is that correct?
That's for the personal property, yes.
Okay.
And it's based
that
on.
rate is affected too when we work
Yes.
to connect it.
So that rate is 2.5 times what is set for the real property rate.
Okay.
Which amounts to 150, 160,000.
It was right around there.
Yeah.
This total reduction takes that into account.
Yeah. You know, on the information you provided us, although we spoke about a $2 million savings on vacant positions, we're only provided $1 million in this. We only take that in $1 million into account with your numbers, and we still have in there for retirement money, extra money going to the retirement fund, which I think everybody agrees needs to be boosted. We have surpluses that are coming in higher than we've ever seen in this county that could be used to help boost that fund. I mentioned last week we could put $10 million in a reserve account, and then we still have we're not even finished this year yet, but we still have about $7.5 million that we could use on different projects or to boost our employee retirement fund. And so, anyway, to me, again, this.
Pardon me a second, we're
Go
keeping
ahead.
our pension contribution at $3 million, correct?
No, not based on these two reductions.
If you remember, I mentioned last week that when we originally brought in the budget, there were $3 million in there. So now, based on those different scenarios, there's different numbers about how much is left. Now, I suggested to this board, and I think the board was in agreement, that we're not going to know what the surplus is until sometime in May, probably. But it would be my recommendation that if there was surplus monies and it wasn't included in this budget, that I hope this board would put $3 million aside to put into the pension.
I think, speaking for myself, not all of us, I think I'm committed to putting some money into our pension plan. And as Kelsey mentioned in last week's meeting, or the last time we met, was that last week or 2 weeks?
It was last week.
Okay, last week. While we don't know the exact amount of our surplus, it's, her word, significant.
Right.
So we are expecting money that if we don't fund it out of the excess in fiscal year 23's budget, we can still take care of our employees' pension through the excess in our current fiscal year operating budget, because it's it's
Our goal
excess.
is to try to get that $3 million.
Yeah, and that was my goal
fund
too.
it.
So, wherever it gets funded from a different place. But I think when you look at those different scenarios for 1 cent and 2 cent, I believe if it's 2 cents, I think there's $300,000 left out of that original $3 million that we were going to put
Yeah,
aside.
so
And then if it was 1 cent, it was 1.3.
it's right around 1.8 million still.
So, so what we did is it just got reduced by
Whatever the
revenue reduction
difference.
will be.
So for,
I think the thing to keep in mind with all this is that every year, I asked Sarah for this information many, many months ago, but every year for the past umpteen years, she can only go back so far, the county has always ended the year with a surplus. It's never had a year when it's not.
True. I can remember being here during the hard years when money was tight and we didn't have a surplus, we didn't give pay raises, and the economy, when I first took office in 2006, was just booming through the roofs. The group of commissioners before me, they were giving rebates, and then all of a sudden in 2007, it went boom.
I'll forward the email. I'll forward you the email.
I'm just saying from my time being here.
I'll forward you the email.
Would you forward that to all of us, just out of curiosity?
Yep.
Okay. I noticed, as we were looking at and exploring the property tax rate and a possible decrease, I think a couple of us learned that it's tied and pegged to the county's business personal property tax rate. I looked on, I believe it was MACO's website, and not every county in Maryland even charges no, I'm not asking that we eliminate it, but not every county in Maryland offers that personal business tax rate, charges that to their businesses. And the types of businesses that helps, can you help list a few? I mean, restaurants, it affects mom and pop shops, businesses in the community. So while we were certainly looking at, a possible way to help our property owners, our citizens in Washington County, even renters benefit from this, because that's less in property taxes that their landlord would have to pay. This could also help some businesses that, we know there were some programs that help many businesses, but some are still struggling. And this could have good ramifications for many in Washington County.
I was out yesterday talking to people over in the Hopewell area, and I know somebody asked, okay, how much of an individual savings that is, and I asked Kelsey to provide me with that information. If you have a home that's valued at about $200,000, it amounts to about a $40 savings per year. And as I was talking to this older couple, they're both retired. One is retired from the state of Maryland. The other is retired. She actually spent some time as a county commuter driver and some other jobs in the area. First of all, she was appalled that somebody would even ask how much of a savings that would be. Because as she said, I don't care if it's $1. I could use that money in my pocket, not the government's pocket. And I kind of echoed that same comment last week when I made the comment, you know what, even if it's $10 right now, that's a benefit to me. And so as I'm out walking around the communities around Washington County, that is the one thing that I constantly hear, and I said it last week. We had bipartisan support in the state, at the state level, to give some tax relief to the citizens of our state. Washington County, if you ride around our county, we see a lot of dirt moving in this county. So the numbers that are being presented to us, I don't feel are taking into account the additional dirt we're seeing move. We're seeing a lot of dirt move in this county. And, you know, we just all saw, I hope we all saw, if not, this is news to you, but yesterday they approved more houses being built in Black Rock. That's not the only place that's happening at in Washington County. This is happening all over Washington County. And so, anyway, people need to be respectful of the money that we manage. It is the people's money, and surely 5 Republicans can come together and support this reduction.
Just a correction, I don't think they approved more, they just did a redesign of the existing.
No, they didn't approve any
Well,
more.
okay, I'm sorry, yeah, they did a redesign.
Sorry, we don't want people to building a lot.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I misspoke. What committee is that approved it? They approved it.
Planning Commission.
Planning Commission approved the
Redesign,
design.
they didn't add the extra 600.
No, they didn't add the extra 600. We're talking about their original plan. But that goes to my point that they are building more houses, and it's happening all over Washington County. And so, you know, if we are headed into a recession, we should be responsible with the people's money, how we spend it here. But the people could also use some of that money, so.
And on the annual savings for a home, if we reduced it 1 or 2%, I didn't know that number. And that was just an interesting number that I would have liked to have known. And you clarified that today, $40 per household on a $200,000 home.
So it equates to, for each penny, they would save $10 for every $100,000 in assessed value they have.
This is another number I think we should all be mindful of, and this is a little undervalued because this is last year's figure, but when we were going through our fiscal year 22 budget last year at this time, I worked with Todd Hershey at our treasurer and Sarah Graves, who was CFO at the time. Todd Hershey gave me the average tax assessed value for a residence in Washington County at that time was $247,000. So that average homeowner pays $2,341.56 a year in property taxes. The average income tax return filed, this could be an individual, it could be a married couple. The average tax return reports taxable income of $50,980, and at a 3% county tax rate, that's $1,529.40. So the average family in Washington County pays $3,870.96.
That's an income tax?
And property taxes combined. That's combined. That's significant for my family. I'm sure it's significant for many families. $3,870.96 is an amount we should never forget, because that's what we ask every family to pay in taxes so we can fund, and we do good things in the county, provide a road system, a highway system, we fund police protection, fire and rescue, we do great things. But be mindful that that's a large amount of money, and I say that's last year's figures because a third of our property tax value is reassessed this year. So that average assessed value of a home is probably a little higher. I don't know what the exact value is, but this is last year's figure. That's significant. Incomes are higher also. So that's a built-in tax increase whenever a home increases in value or incomes increase. And you're right, you know, we may be facing a recession. County government will be pretty stable. We have people that might lose their homes. Let's be mindful of that.
As far as the amount, this was a email that I received from Kelsey, and the reason I said $40 on $200,000, it says her response was, at the current rate, a home assessed at $210,000 would pay $1,990.80 in taxes. So if you drop the rate 2 cents, the taxes, I'm sorry, the taxes are, it goes from 1990 to 1948. The savings would be $42 per year.
Commissioners, thoughts, comments?
Wayne brought up a good point there on the combined. So for me, if we're going to do something, which I know we are, we're going to do something with tax reduction today and some tax relief. Personally, I'd like to see it a combination of property and income tax, if we did anything at all. That way, everybody would benefit. More people would benefit if there's going to be some tax relief.
Is that a motion? Or?
Well, we got to discuss amounts.
Terry, I'd be on board with that. Last year, we made some promises, and so I would definitely be on board with that. If we wanted to be conservative, instead of taking it back to 2.8 and do 2.9, go halfway there, do the penny that Mr. Kiefer was talking about last week.
And I would say be cautious and hopefully put commissioners next term into a position where they could do some relief as well.
I agree.
Yeah, you know, Terry, I actually would agree with that because I'm afraid with just all property tax that, I don't know, Wayne just presented something, but there are tenants that need the money too that won't get it. So you sort of split it up and everybody gets a little bit of money. I'd be fine with that. And probably I'd also would like to see no water sewer increase. I don't know if we can do that or not, but.
Did you say no water and sewer increase?
Yeah.
There's a public, I mean, there'll be
So
public
that'll
hearings
be
on that.
discussed next week, or not next week.
The
The 26th public hearing is whenever you guys would decide on the water and sewer.
Well, I mean, I hear you. I mean, but this board already approved.
Well, we can
take
change
those.
it.
You can change it, that's right.
yeah.
But we're gonna have to change the
That'll
budget
be at the
too.
hearing.
That's okay. We'll change the budget too. We're here trying to put money back in everybody's pocket.
So is that going to be a motion, Terry, then?
I was just thinking you could do 1%, and I'm just throwing this out there, 1% property, a half of a tenth of a percent income tax, and then no increase to water sewer.
That'd be
So I
fine.
think those dollars would probably get us close to the same dollar amount as 2%.
Was it 2.9 or 2.95 are you suggesting?
Well, I was going to suggest 2.95, but Charlie said 2.
If we're going to do,
Water sewer.
if we're going to do that and you're going to keep it up 0.5%, I'd like to see us do 2 cents on the property. If you want to do 2.9 and a half, okay, and the water rates stay the same.
0%.
I'm going to be comfortable with 1% on property. I just want to be careful. I want to be able to have the next group of.
We're losing less on, we're losing less on property than what we would if you keep the rate higher on the employment side.
But you like 2.95 on income because that keeps the disparity grant.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So I like that. I mean, if we could meet at 2 cents on the property, and keep in mind, that 3 million that we were talking about, we're not talking about exactly 3 million, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in my thinking. My whiteboard says 1/3 of everybody's going to see an automatic increase anyway. So there are going to be people in this community that, although we're going to do a tax cut, they're still going to see some sort of increase in their taxes. 1/3 of us will, and that's not us doing that. That's state mandate.
Well, I think that's sort of moving cautiously. I mean, if we'd like to, I'm sort of all about caution at 2, possibly 2. I was sort of with you at 1, but possibly 2 and 2.95. That's not, I'm guess.
I don't know what that number would be.
I'm not sure what that number would be. If you're going to add in the 0.5% for income tax, that's going to bring it down more than the $3,051,000 that's proposed with the 2 cent. So that's going to
You're going to be 4 million?
4.
I'm not sure exactly. I'd have to go back and run the numbers because I've never run one for 0.5% for income tax. I don't know what that difference is.
In the water and sewer rates, and I understand that we still have a public hearing, but based on the budget that's on the table right now, that includes those increases, right?
Yes, so the only thing that would affect is the water fund would get an additional appropriation from general fund to cover that shortfall.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to be
We can,
cautious.
That was-
we can we can work those numbers and
Yeah,
provide
I
those
don't have
numbers
that in
to
front of me, what that dollar amount
Do we have
was.
some type of agreement we can make a motion on and give them direction? Charlie?
I mean, I personally would make the motion that we do the 2 cents on property tax. I love Terry's idea of 2.95. I think that's being conservative. I think you're right. We need to be thinking about whoever's going to be running the show the next cycle. And I didn't think about water tax, but I think that's a good savings to the people. We need to then really start looking at our budget when it comes back to us and see, without cutting certain public safety, we all agree that's not going to happen,
Right.
and other issues.
There's
I
nothing
make a
figured in there
motion.
for EMS, right?
No, because there's not
Okay,
been
so
a
that's
dollar
why
amount for
we
it.
moved sort of slow on, yeah.
Motion on property
You
tax.
motion?
So there's my motion.
What was your question, Randy, about?
Well, I was just making sure there was nothing, we're gonna still have to do something for EMS, so there was nothing in the budget reflecting that at this point.
Yeah.
So the
Not
property,
at this point.
just to clarify, the property tax rate will be set after the public hearing when you approve the budget. So,
But we
so it
get
goes
a-
back to what we talked about last week. So, I mean, there can be consensus and direction, and that's what
Yeah, so-
staff's always looking for.
Yeah, what I need is just the consensus of what tax rates you want me to use in the budget that would be taken to
Income
public hearing
tax.
in
Mr.
May.
Right,
Burkett
income
mentioned
tax is
something about 2 cents on property tax. We have a consensus to move forward. Is that okay?
Yes.
I'm okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good.
Absolutely.
As long as
So-
I get as long as you're going to include the income
Yeah,
tax
the income.
and water sewer.
That was my proposal, all three of those.
Anything else that anybody needs to incorporate into this motion, so that way we can just move forward.
So it's 2.95, 2 cents, and no
Okay.
increase in water and sewer,
All right,
correct?
repeat
That's
this
right.
for
That's the
clarity.
motion.
Okay, Charlie, would you repeat it? For
Motion is to reduce property
One
tax.
person at a time.
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
Okay.
Motion is to reduce property tax by 2 cents.
Well, we can't make a motion. on
Right, so this
property
would just be
tax.
motion
Okay.
for budget.
Well, then I tell you what, you make the motion on the other. I'll just ask for concurrence on a 2 cent.
So,
Let's see,
Allow
can-
me,
can we-
please.
Somebody just do what we're agreeing to, and then we can figure out
right.
whether.
I would like to,
motion.
All
I
I
would like
need
to
is
find
just
a
direction
consensus
for
to
the
direct
budget.
staff.
Thank
I would like to find a consensus to direct staff to present a budget to us at our next meeting
Yes.
that shows a 2 cent property tax reduction, that shows an income tax rate decrease from 3.0% to 2.95%, and that shows no increase in water and sewer rates.
Agreed, everybody nod their head, is that a
Yes.
yes? Thank you very
There
much.
we go.
Great,
With-
way to work
with
With
the
the understanding that the budget for the rates have already been advertised and scheduled,
It's okay,
and we'll
they'll
show
know ahead of
the-
time when we go
We'll just
there.
have to withdraw that, because
That's
there's no-
okay.
there'll be no, there'll be no change in the rates, so we won't, at least for water and sewer rates. There were some
I
other
just
ones.
think 2.95 sounds a lot better.
And we keep some of the disparity grant money with that, that's important. Okay, with that done,
Very well. And thank you for putting it on the
There are
agenda.
other
Great
rates.
discussion.
yes, indeed.
Other rates
Move
are-
forward really
Kelsey,
nice.
There are other, I think she was asking about the public
Well,
hearing. Are there
yeah,
other
so
rates,
we'll s-
other rates?
We will still need to do the rate hearing for water and sewer rates, because in addition to the usage rates, there was some lab fee increases that are included in that
But
as
we'll go
well.
into that public hearing with everyone knowing we're going to make that zero.
Okay.
And there was no landfill increase, right? No.
Not to the permit rate, just
There's-
the addition of a mattress fee and
Okay, I got it, I remember, yeah.
There's
There'll
composting
be a
fee,
public
I
hearing on
think.
those rates, but the other ones will not.
Yeah.
Two comments I want to make. We have a tax differential, which we provide 12.5 cents
Mm-hmm.
relief to every municipality that included on this. And I have two more things. We
That'll
have a
remain
homestead tax credit that everyone can apply for, correct? That meets the eligibility?
Sorry, which credit?
Homestead tax.
Yes.
And property tax. And then, do we not have some type of veterans tax credit that's not widely known for property tax?
Yes, I think there is another
Well,
credit available to
My suggestion
veterans.
is, let's start promoting at least those last two, the veterans and the homestead, so more people apply
Okay.
and know for that.
Sure, I'll get with Danielle and PR on that.
All right, anything else?
I would just like to say, it's been a win-win for everybody.
Thank you very much. If that's it, motion to go into closed session?
Thank you.
Motion to go in closed session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.